Introduction of the group assignment. This group's assignment is based on the film Arrival for analysis. The core purpose is to exploring philosophical concepts in film, the human concept. She was entrusted by the military to decipher the language system of the alien, seven-limbed barrel. In the process, she gradually mastered the way of thinking that could perceive the future, and at the same time faced her personal fate and the choices of human civilization. It is not a traditional science fiction film, but takes language and time as the core proposition, integrating philosophical reasoning and delicate emotions. The picture is cold and beautiful, and has won many awards such as the Academy Award for Best Sound Editing, which can be called a model of hardcore science fiction plus humanistic depth. Lu Jiahao.
Why Stoicism is worth learning for everyone in this anxious age. Stoicism is worth learning for everyone. When a loved one is lost, or when an accident comes, life seems to be full of an uncertain cycle of pain. We can't help but ask, what exactly am I living for? Stoicism points out, the pain we suffer in imagination is far greater than that in reality. You should try to learn to draw the line for anxiety. Learn to relinquish what lies beyond your control. Take action on what you can control. Alleviate inner anxiety through actions. Meanwhile, we ought to learn to cherish what we have before it is lost. Try to look at your lover's face. Imagine what they would look like if they suddenly disappeared. When we mentally anticipate loss in advance, instead it enables us to break free from the apathy towards the present. Finally, be a happy climber.
This is probably philosophy.
Philosophy is not a fixed knowledge system, but rather a critical inquiry and reflection activity on fundamental issues such as the world, life, knowledge, values, and reason. Philosophy is a systematic and theoretical worldview, which is a generalization and summary of knowledge about nature, society, and thinking. Philosophy is a discipline that loves and pursues wisdom, and it is dedicated to grasping the relationship between human beings and the world as a whole. Philosophical wisdom emerges from human practical activities. It is formed and developed by people in the process of understanding and transforming the world, as well as in the practice of handling the relationship between human beings and the external world.
Many people spend their entire lives trying to figure out others, but some implore themselves. Perhaps the key to a person's life lies in knowing oneself, which enables one to live a clean and enlightened life, just as Lao Tzu said. He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened.
Those Malaysians rainbow plantation Indians settlers and citizens in the country Brazil stands for the emphasized practice concept of humanity. In this passage, several demonstrations it not only demonstrates the essence of humanity, such as abilities, emotions, and responsibilities, but also exposes how institutions, institutions in detail and each groups dictate the concept of humanity. Until it goes to a cover proposing prostitution, the definition of human should return to the warmth of life itself, rather than the labels bestowed by society.
Hello, Professor. My name is Zheng Zhaorui. Now I will analyze metaphysicals. Louis clearly see her future. she would marry Lan, give birth to a daughter named Hannah. Watch Hannah grew up and then lose her to a rare disease. But this was not a sad dream. She still chose such a future because she had learned something for the aliens. Time coexistence language for her. Love and the time spent with family were more important than avoiding pain. This sense was warm but also a little sad, as if she was grasping those beautiful memories that had not yet happened. She was not afraid. She was ready to enjoy every second, whether good or bad.
Hello everyone, let me unite this thing. The core of this plot in Advent is the profound metaphor of language as a colonial tool. A symbol of seven-limbed barrel carries the dual meaning of tool and weapon at the same time. And when the Chinese military communicates with the symbol of Majun, full of competitive logic, it naturally interprets it as weapon. Behind this is the limitations of Eurocentrism or anthropocentrism. We always believe that linearity, competition, and dual opposition is the most superior way of cognition, and forcibly incorporating other people's information into the logic of violence, which is exactly the typical epistemological colonization attempt, and also accurately echoes the material, spiritual, and intellectual integration of colonization. The definition of treatment of others, the triple impact caused by this misreading is worth pondering. On the cultural level, the seven-limbed barrel disperses information but prohibits sharing, which reproduces the divide and rule strategy of colonial history, which directly leads to the division of suspicion in various countries, and almost reproduces the Cold War pattern. On the moral level, the definition of unknown tools as weapons is a cognitive violence that ignores local wisdom, exposing the non-self under cultural hegemony. The prejudice of ethnicity is a threat. At the social level, the military tried to monopolize communication with aliens, instrumentalizing linguist Lewis and physicist Ian, perfectly mapping the core structure of knowledge for power in the colonial system. The most precious part of this plot is the profound reflection on the incompleteness of decolonization. Although political colonization has ended, our thinking framework and knowledge system are still deeply rooted in the modern soil of the West, and we are used to looking at the world from the perspective of competition, security, and advantage. What the world of the seven-limb bucket needs is cooperation, symbiosis, and understanding. Lewis insists on tracing the original intention of tools, which is the struggle for the right to interpret knowledge, which is the core practice of decolonization at the cognitive level. It reminds us that breaking cognitive hegemony and truly understanding the language and logic of others is the key to avoiding confrontation and achieving peace.
Hello, dear professor. My name is Shen Jiayu, with the student number is I250378662. Today, I'd like to have a brief discussion about colonization, using a key scene from the movie A Travel as an example. I will cover three main points. First, let's talk about the concept. In this sense, Louise managed to master the half-pad language. As a result, she no longer perceives time in a linear fashion. Instead, she can simultaneously view the past, present, and future. This change grants her from a cognitive freedom that breaks away from that typical West mode of thinking. In Western thought, the mind and body are often separated, and time is considered linear. However, Louis acquires a holistic and interconnected way of understanding the world. This is a prime example of what we can term a Darwinian transformation. Because she trans the human, since there's erocentric competence embodied in a transportation knowledge system. Second, let's look at the impact. Culturally, his actions contribute to moving the world towards cooperation rather than division. Socially, has been a disseminator of new type of knowledge. Finally, let's explore the deeper message. This scenario indicates that the highest level of decolonization is not only political or economic. It's an internal process. This is about changing the way we think and view the world.
Hello, everyone.
Watching Brothers made me rethink what it means to be recognized as a person. The younger brother, with no legal documents, is labeled illegal, not because he's less loving or hopeful, but because the system says so. That line, Allah won't abandon me for lacking papers, hit hard. He's emotionally whole, yet needs bureaucracy to prove his worth. The system squeezes his choices to zero, but compassion never fades, it's just silenced. It made me see our humanity isn't defined by labels, but by the love and pain that make us real. Before arrival, I never doubted time moves in a straight line into the heptapod's circular, one-stroke language. If their language is non-linear, why must time be? It made me wonder, is reality just what our language teaches us? But Louise's choice stuck with me. She sees the future's joy and tragedy, yet chooses to live it all. That's humanity. Life isn't about controlling outcomes, but embracing the journey. It's not about perfection, but choosing to experience every moment. The idea of cognitive colonization changed everything for me. Arrival isn't just sci-fi. Humans label aliens as weapons and hoard information, repeating colonial patterns of domination. But Louise learns their language to understand, not control. That's spiritual freedom. To see a bigger world, we must break free from inherited thought patterns. Decolonization isn't political. It's unlearning the bias that our way is the only way and opening our minds to new across these films. One question keeps coming up. What makes a real person? I've realized character isn't born, it's forged through choices we dare to make, questions we keep asking, systems we resist, pain we endure, and love we give even when it hurts. Philosophy isn't abstract in identity conflicts, language, limits, and systemic pressure. These stories showed me I'm not a fixed being, but someone constantly growing, shaped by empathy and courage. That's the beauty of being.
When the seven-limbered barrier arrived, every country reacted differently. China saw a threat, Russia was suspicious, while the U.S. tried a scientific dialogue. One event, many truths, a classic case of postmodern relativism. Their conflicting truths pushed the world to the edge of war, showing how fragile global corruption is. The message is simple. In complex situations, different viewpoints can all be valid. Real communication starts from understanding different worldviews, not forcing one truth on everyone. As Lois learned the alien's language, her thinking changed and she began seeing fragments of her daughter's future. Language doesn't help us communicate, it shapes how we think. Her reality became non-linear, blending present and future. This raises a question: how much of our reality is shaped by language and future and culture? Even science, journalism, and history may not be fully objective. We may think we live in the same world, but we are actually in different reality bubbles. Staying open-minded and aware of our own limits is the first step to truly understanding others.